Ryan Salazar here with Broadcast Beat in our post-NAB videos. We've got Steve Katz, Vice President of Sales at JMR Electronics. How are you, Steve?
Okay, Ryan, how are you?
Doing great, doing excellent. So talk about the exciting announcements you guys had at NAB.
Well, NAB was a pretty good show for us, I think. We had a lot of traffic, a lot of excitement. We did introduce a couple of brand new products. Of those new products, one will be available to ship for general release in about 3 weeks, and the other two in probably more like 8 weeks or so, because they have to go through Thunderbolt certification. But we did introduce, for the very first time, our new Thunderbolt for Mac Mini, which is a desktop or rack mount workstation that you install the Mac Mini right into the rear of the chassis. It just slides in on a bracket. The chassis interfaces with the Mac Mini and controls it. It's a breakout box that brings connections to the front panel as well as the rear panel. And each one includes an 8-drive RAID storage subsystem with an internal hardware RAID controller. And Thunderbolt, of course, the Thunderbolt bridge, host adapter from Thunderbolt to PCI Express is included right inside the chassis. So we have an 8-drive desktop workstation for Mac Mini and also a 2U rack mount workstation for Mac Mini. So it's either mobile, portable, on the desk or alongside the desk or in a rack cabinet or mobile cart or whatever. Those are on our website now for the very first time. They're not for sale yet because we have to complete Intel Thunderbolt certification, but once that's completed, they'll be for sale. And I imagine they'll be shipping hopefully by about late July, early August. So those were two new ones that are kind of exciting.
Oh, excellent. And I know that you guys, you recently updated and reintroduced your Data Mover network acceleration appliance. Could you talk about that?
Well, we did. We made one or two small hardware changes in our product, and of course our software partner, TransferSoft, who provides, the software that we actually use for that product, has made a couple of upgrades and a couple of updates in their application as well. So it's faster, smoother, better. We're in control of the GUI. JMR actually wrote the GUI here, and we continually update that. As the application shifts and improves, we update the GUI and improve that as well. So it's kind of new. It looks about the same from the outside. There's a couple of tweaks internally. And of course, the software is, continuously getting better. So it's a winner. It's a real winner. We have a lot of interest in that product all over the world, really. I think this year is probably the year that it will really take off for us.
Now, the folks that would benefit from a product like Data Mover, what type of audience would you have? What type of folks use that hardware?
Well, these are people who routinely move a lot of data. Video files is a perfect application, or any type of entertainment content that requires a lot of bandwidth. Feature movies down to commercials, especially if it's high definition. And especially if you have to transfer it to multiple locations, people are paying for fairly high bandwidth internet access, very commonly 1 gigabit Ethernet to their back door, sometimes 10 gigabit Ethernet to their back door using dark fiber. And those are the people who can really take advantage of moving files very, very quickly without having to pay per use or per month or per quarter or per year. There's no contracts involved. There's no time or bandwidth limits or charges involved. Once you own it, you own the asset and you own it forever and can use it every day for as long as you want. So for people who are moving a lot of data, one great application would be people transferring video files to multiple locations for editing or transcoding or translating or whatever they do with them at multiple locations worldwide, are moving a lot of files, sometimes 20, 30, 40 at a time, all day long. And they can be paying an awful lot of money to be doing that. With Data Mover, that can improve throughput at lower cost. Cost of ownership might be substantially less than what some people are paying now. So it's for those high bandwidth users.
Now, in regards to the Mac Mini device, I assume that's a much broader audience. Somebody that's like an editor or an audio engineer, somebody that needs. How many drives go in that again?
Well, there's 8 disk drives, 8 3.5-inch disk drives in the desktop model, eight 2.5-inch drives in the 2U rack mount model. So the rack mount model can accommodate up to about 32 terabytes of storage if somebody needed that much. The desktop model, there are now 8 terabyte 3.5-inch drives that we know work quite well, and we've been using them. So that could accommodate up to 64 terabytes of storage in a desktop unit. That's kind of a lot for a home user who's just, keeping recipes or, archiving photographs of their children and things like that. But for commercial professional users, SMB, editors certainly, DIT folks, often need a workstation that's fairly powerful and has some storage capacity available as well. We've also included a media card reader in the front panel of these products, so you can take a media card out of a camera or other device and just plug it right in, and bingo, you're connected to the Mac. Uh, the desktop product actually has an optional flip-up 8-inch LCD screen, which is just VGA. It's not real high definition, but it allows you to maybe view dailies and just confirm that whatever you've ingested actually got there, and that you can play it back and look at it, right there, in the same cabinet as the Mac Mini. These are really slick products. So, they're not for super high-end users. And they're probably one step above the average home user, but almost everybody in between could you make use of something like this. And as you know, a Mac Mini is a real affordable product. They start at about $500 and go up to 1,000 or a bit more with various options, but it's still a lot of performance and a very small and economical package. And we just created this whole workstation that can include a monitor, RAID storage, and Thunderbolt capacity, all inside one box. And these are small, lightweight boxes.
That's excellent. And so again, you said that this is still in final development, right?
Well, they're actually fully developed. The problem is we can't really sell them until they're Thunderbolt certified, and that's a process you have to go through, which we've now applied for. But it can take a month or two to get through that process and get the final certification, which is kind of a seal of approval that Intel and Apple and the powers that be have approved it for sale. Once we go through that, we'll be ready to ship.
Great. Now, so if anybody's interested in any of these products, do they buy them directly through JMR? Is there a reseller or distribution channel?
Actually, there's all of the above. We have a web store online as part of our website, so we do sell direct to end users who just have a credit card and that's all they really need. But we also sell to resellers. Domestically, we have several resellers. We're always looking for a few more. And internationally, we have both resellers and distributors. So sometimes it's a two-tier process going offshore. But we do have them in Europe and in Asia and in Oceania. And here domestically, we have them from coast to coast.
Now, I know that you guys have had a lot of involvement with OEMs or high-end resellers. So I'm curious, can these products also be customized for that type of sale?
Yeah, they certainly can. That's one of the advantages. We design and develop everything in-house, all of our CAD development, everything is developed in-house. And we also manufacture all this stuff in-house as well. So we have a lot of control over not only not only what it does, but also the way it looks, branding, labeling, color, colorization, anodizing or plating and things like that. So we can certainly customize these products pretty easily. Sometimes by simply putting someone's brand label on it, in other cases by serious customization or really designing from the ground up. And that was JMR's forte for many, many years. We built millions of products for the PC aftermarket, for the Mac aftermarket, even before the Mac, going all the way back to the pre-Mac days aftermarkets of the earliest home computers. But JMR has made tons of accessories for the IBM, Apple markets, also Sun Solaris, and going back to the SGI, IRIX days and things like that. We've just made an awful lot of products since 1982. So it's been a long time.
Oh wow, I was pretty young then. It's
Yeah.
a long time ago. Hey, so Steve, I'm just curious. So why JMR and not somebody else?
Well, again, we have probably more control than most, especially for a small company. We're not Apple, but we have a lot of control for a relatively small company. We design and manufacture everything here. We even bend the metal here. We assemble circuit boards here. We do all the final assembly and test here. We're responsible for certification and compliance issues and everything. So,
Excellent.
for a small company, we're pretty vertically integrated still, which is an old-fashioned way to be, but we still are. And with the controls that we have, makes us a pretty reliable source. We can turn pretty quickly to implement changes when required, fix problems, come up with solutions, and things like that. By the way, there's another product that we introduced at NAB, which will actually be released to general availability marketing in about 3 weeks, and that is our NVMe SSD, which just plugs into a BI-8 PCIe slot and any computer that has an operating system that supports NVMe and gives you unbelievably fast storage at a very economical price.
Again, Steve Katz, Vice President of Sales at JMR Electronics. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and I'm sure we'll see you at a future show.
Okay, Ryan, thanks very much. Take care.